In this question, we're going to create a partial loan repayment schedule showing the details of the first two payments and the last two payments for a loan amount of $675,000 that has monthly payments, and we know the rate is 4.85% compounded semi-annually over a term of 25 years. Once we're done with our repayment schedule, we'll also try to calculate the total amount of interest paid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start setting up our repayment schedule here with row 0, just showing our principal balance of $675,000. In order to get into the first two payments, we actually need to know what the payment size is. So let's go and use the calculator. Let's assume we're in N mode here and try to determine the equal sized payment. We're going to take our principal amount as $675,000. We know we have monthly payments, so let's take PY to be 12. We have an interest rate of 4.85%, compounding semi-annually. We're going to assume our future value is 0. And then the last thing we need is 25 years of monthly payments. So 25 times 12, and that's going to give us 300 for N. Popping up the calculator, we can now start programming in some of our parameters. Next up, let's get our 4.85 in for the interest and pop into the submenu here where I need to program in 12 for the payment frequency and 2 or semi-annual for the compounding frequency. Let's take $675,000 to be our principal amount and 0 to be our future value. If we compute the payment size, we get a payment size of around $3,868.39. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to jot that value down in for our first two payments. To move forward with our repayment schedule, though, we are going to need to calculate I2. So let's take our current rate of 4.85%, compounded semi-annual. We're going to add 1 to that and then raise that to the power of 2 over 12. Close that bracket and subtract 1, and now we have our value for I2. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to store this under number 9 because we will have to recall this later. We should now be able to take our balance of $675,000 and go ahead and multiply this by I2. This is going to give us our first interest portion of $2,700.96. If I take this value and I subtract it from our 38.68 and 39, that should give us our first principal payment. And that's going to be $1,167 and about 43 cents. Let's go ahead and subtract this value from our opening balance of $675,000. Doing that should give us about $673,832.57. We can repeat the procedure, taking this value, multiplying it by I2 to get our next interest payment, and then taking this interest portion and subtracting it from our payment size should give us the next principal portion of our payment. Finally, subtracting this from our balance should give us the new and updated balance. And that should be about $672,660.47. Next, we want to jump forward in time so that we can try to determine the repayment schedule for those last two payments. This means we need to jump forward to when n is equal to 298. So let's go ahead, let's program that in. We also are going to need to program in our equal size payments of 38, 68, 39. And just be mindful that we do need these to be negative because we are paying off this loan. So let's program that in for PMT. If we go ahead and calculate FV, this should be our FV for row 298. On our calculator, we can take this future value, we can make it positive by using the plus minus button, and then we can go ahead and we can multiply it by I2. Subtracting this value from that 38, 68, 39 payment, it's going to give us the next principal portion. So we know that 38, 37, 61 should be going towards the principal balance owing. So we can go ahead and subtract this from our 7,693.27 and see what's left over. Since this balance is less than the payment size, we know that the next payment here along row 300 should be the last one. So when we make this last payment, our balance should be 0, and we're actually going to be paying off the remaining principal of 3855.66. Let's go ahead and multiply this by I2 to figure out how much interest is going to be owing. I get $15.43. So what we can do is we can take that 1543, we can add to that the 3855.66. And that should give us the size of this last payment. And in this case, we see that last payment's a little bit bigger than our equal size payment of 3868. It comes out to be about 3871.09, but that's just the way that our repayment schedule has rolled. To finish off this question, we would like to determine the amount of interest that we've actually paid on this particular loan. So let's add up all of our 299 payments of 38, 68, 39. Let's add to that our one payment of 38, 71.09. And then we're going to subtract our principal amount of $675,000. Simplifying this expression, we get $485,519.70.